Hi there. In this video we'll be covering, can a self-published book become a New York Times bestseller? To be honest, the New York Times bestseller list, it's a bit of a scam. I'll share why. By the end of this video, you will learn more about the New York Times bestseller process, why other bestseller lists are more reflective of sales trends, and why I don't worry about the New York Times bestseller list and neither should you. And stay tuned until the end of the video for a free opportunity I really think you're going to enjoy. Let's dive in. As far as bestseller lists are concerned, the New York Times is the creme de la creme, the top of the heap, number one. Any book that's ever published wants to be on this New York Times bestseller list. This is the ultimate status symbol. It is the ultimate level of success for book writing and book publishing, and it's a joke. The whole thing is a joke. And I'm not just saying that because I haven't had any of my books featured on that list, although that's true. I've had 4 national bestsellers, none of which was on the New York Times bestseller list. And the reason I say that the New York Times bestseller list is a joke is because it's not reflective of actual sales trends. You know, it's based on a formula that's very convoluted and screwy, that's based on book sales in these specific places at these specific times and different channels being activated. So it's not really reflective of the most popular books of the week. It's interesting. I recently had a book that I worked on. It was Purposeful Performance by Jonathan Stanley that became a very popular book overnight because of a viral TikTok video. And the book sold like 10,000 copies in a week. In one given week, it was in the top 100 on Amazon's rankings for the entire week. I was so proud of Jonathan because I worked together with him briefly for a couple months after he finished his draft. And it was so special when, he and I spoke. His goal was to reach one person and change one person's life with his message. And he did that over and over and over again. Very successful book. And I remember waiting for the New York Times bestseller list to update. 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays is when they update their list online. So I was waiting and waiting, refreshing my screen and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I look at the list and it's not there. The book isn't there, which was so frustrating. The problem was earlier that day, it had been ranked number 9th most popular book on Amazon for nonfiction paperback books. Number 9 in the country for the given week. And that's reflective of BookScan sales. That's actually the number of sales. On the other hand, the New York Times bestseller list often devalues books in which there's only one great avenue for sales. So because Jonathan's book wasn't being sold in a lot of bookstores, and because it didn't have a lot of sales in other channels, the New York Times didn't really pay it any attention. It kind of just brushed it aside, which was frustrating because he outsold some of the other books on the actual New York Times bestseller list. I'm not saying it would have been number 1. I'm not jumping to that conclusion, but somewhere in that 8 to 15 range, 7 to 10, somewhere in that range, I think he deserved to be there based on sales. But again, the New York Times bestseller list is not based on sales. It's based on a weird formula. Some perennial publications don't even appear on the list, even though they're some of the most popular of the week or month. It's so frustrating because people focus on the New York Times bestseller list, like that's the thing. And it's rare and uncommon for a self-published book to make it on the New York Times bestseller list. It does happen from time to time, but it's more likely that those books will wind up with other bestseller lists. USA Today is one, again, Amazon bestseller list. Previously, the Wall Street Journal had a bestseller list, and that was pretty closely mirroring the USA Today one. So there's these other bestseller lists that are more reflective of actual sales, and yet people focus on the New York Times. Look, the New York Times, it's nice to be able to say you're a New York Times best-selling writer. If I was ever to have a New York Times best-selling book, I definitely would update my tag on my emails to say New York Times best-selling ghostwriter. But I just kind of laugh at it. I just kind of don't take it seriously. Because there's other bestseller lists that are better, and because a lot of times the New York Times will focus on books that fit within their coverage and fit within their range, fit within their issues. I think the New York Times bestseller list is completely overrated, and I say that as somebody who's written or ghostwritten 30 plus books, some of which that have sold really well. So I know it's easy to get frustrated because I'm frustrated by the fact that I haven't been on this list yet. I know it's easy to get frustrated by that and think about these status symbols and think about all you want to grab and accomplish and be able to say in your new, there's so many things as an author that you want to grab and accomplish, and you want to say that you're a New York Times best-selling author. I wouldn't worry about it. I think you should focus on writing the best book possible, writing a book that resonates to you, writing a book that matters to you. And if you can write a great book and carry it forward, good things are going to happen. You don't need the New York Times bestseller list to tell you that you have a good book, to affirm this for you. You can do that with the way that people react to it, the way that people respond to the book, the way that people write their Amazon reviews, the way that people write on Goodreads, the way that readers will interact with you and tell you how the book helped them. That's what matters. It's not about this bestseller list. It's not about selling the most copies within a given week to be able to put that feather in your cap. These lists are popularity contests. They're really about how many books you can sell. But I'm about impact. If I can have an impact with one person, 2 people, 10 people, I don't care if it's on a bestseller list. I just want to have a connection. I want to have an impact. And that's what book writing's all about. It's not about popularity contests. It's not about checking boxes. It's not about labels. It's simply about telling the best possible story and having an impact on somebody's life. And if you can do that, who cares? Who cares if you're a bestseller or not? Because this book resonated and it meant something to somebody and it moved somebody. That's all there is to it. If you want to learn more about can a self-published book become a New York Times bestseller, I'd love to talk. I'd love to connect and share some insights. Go to my website, goodghostwriter.com. You can click the link below. There you can schedule a one-on-one strategy call with me, completely free. I'd love to talk. I'd love to share my insights about book writing and ghostwriting and help you move past the bestseller focus and into the people focus, into helping move somebody and moving somebody with your book. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.